Let's review what is expected of you as a Dawgz Raider. Preparation, attendance, accountability. These are the three cores of Dawgz raiding. Simple words to cover complex topics, so let's begin. Preparation is the largest and most important aspect of being a Dawgz Raider. This isn't classic 40-man Molten Core anymore. Gone are the days of 35-minute boss explanations and live raid diagrams in MS Paint. Gone are the class officers who never did anything except get loot anyway. More and more isn't handed to you by officers because it can't be anymore. Being self-taught is one of the most important aspects of raiding in Cataclysm and beyond, so let's go over specifics. Dawgz has always considered itself a team that pushes itself. Your gearing needs to reflect this. Your gear is required to be gemmed and enchanted to the maximum. You get one free enchant for chest, bracer, and glove per phase from the guild bank, but does this mean you should just not enchant your upgrade? No, of course not. You are expected to fully gem and enchant your gear to its highest level. The guild helps everyone, so we cannot help everyone for everything. You must be self-reliant in this regard. Your other guild members are, so should you. You can check your enchants and gems by downloading the Cataclysm add-on, Character Stats Pane Improved, shown here. Professions. Dawgz requires everyone to have engineering and another active profession that aids your PvE, DPS, HPS, or tanking. The reason for requiring engineering is that when the entire raid utilizes its features, the raid gains a tremendous bonus to its capabilities. Everyone gains an oh shit rocket boot in case of emergencies, and if everyone utilizes Serenite bombs, the raid gains roughly 500 DPS per target in any boss encounter. On fights like Maloriak, the raid could be gaining thousands of DPS if the entire raid was utilizing their profession appropriately. We're leaving DPS on the table by not using these requirements. Serenite bombs and sappers can be easy to use by macroing it into abilities. You can even cast them directly to a tank's location without needing to do it yourself. Take a look at some of these macro options on screen now and try to make sure you are trying to cast the most bombs and sappers each raid. This is what my bag looks like pre-raid. Even though we drop cauldrons and feasts for raid, always bring your own stuff in case of emergencies. Never leave Stormwind without your goodies. Dawgz has always had exceptional players. The way we keep our players exceptional is by constantly looking for new knowledge and bettering yourself. At the end of the day, this means that you have to do the work. You have to really want to get better. Then you'll be motivated to do the work. What does work mean here? It means that you have to go to your class discords and actually read all of the posts. Read guides, watch videos of players better than you at your class and try to learn from their work. You have to look at your own raid logs that we post in Discord and review them. Hey, does this player who plays the same class at me in the same raid as me did better than me? How? Let's see what they cast. Is it different than what I cast? Is it the same? If it's the same, did they do it better? Did our gear match up? Even accounting for gear, did I just do worse because of the mechanic? After this, you can then engage a player much better than you in conversation and ask them genuine questions about improvement. But you have to do these things and not expect another person to do it all for you. This sentiment extends beyond just playing your class better. It's also about prepping yourself for the raid content at hand. Knowing boss fights is more than just memorizing that the boss has X mechanic. It's about understanding how that mechanic interacts with the raid and how and why we do specific strategies to mitigate those mechanics. Knowing why we stack or spread is just as important as knowing that we have to stack or spread. Knowing why we do a mechanic a certain way allows for you to take advantage of that situation better and maximize your DPS, HPS, or tanking role. This expectation is a given, and we won't spend much time here. However, we cannot have a raid if nobody shows up. Being on time and ready to go at raid time is an essential requirement. We start raid invites 1 hour early ahead of raid to give you more than enough time to get to raid by raid start. Stop expecting someone to summon you when you can easily and quickly be at the raid with more than enough time to spare. Do not try to grab raid materials 5 minutes before raid start. Respect everyone else's time. 3. Accountability. This is a big one for me as a raid leader. Mistakes happen, and they are a normal part of raiding. What doesn't help with morale, or raiding in general, is when someone makes a mistake and refuses to accept it. A lot goes into a raid and everyone is trying their best. When one person seems to not be doing their best, but refuses to own it, everyone feels worse. This goes all the way to the main raid leader. A simple "yo, my bad guys" goes a long way to helping everyone get over a mistake and getting better for it. Learn from your mistakes and move forward with the team. Let's go over some of the positional raid calls that will be made when raiding in Dawgz raid team. Oftentimes, you will hear a raid call to stack. In almost all instances, this is meant to be a pixel stack. A pixel stack is when the raid stacks together in such a way that all players are stacked in a single position. As you'll see in this clip, every player collapses onto the player marked as box before moving back to their original position. In this replay, you'll see each player move from their original position and move directly on top of the player marked box. They do not finish their casts, they move directly to the designated position and fully and completely stack. As you see, each caster stops casting and directly moves without stopping or continuing to cast. Once each caster makes it to the location, they then begin to cast. When the call to spread is made, the same is true. Casters cease their casts and move directly to their original positions before resuming hard casting. For melee, it is very easy to pixel stack, as it is an inbuilt part of playing the role. However, many casters do not completely understand what you are not supposed to do. As we see here, the caster does not fully enter the pixel stack. Instead, this mage figures that they are close enough and has elected to only utilize their blink to get somewhat near the stack before continuing to DPS. This is not what you are supposed to do when stack is called. Additionally, when the call to spread is made, do not continue to hard cast and not move. We need to be completely moving back to designated positions when the call to spread is made. In other situations, a call to loosely stack is made. This is very typically stated directly in our raid plan by showing a given area to stack within, or directly by a raid leader at raid. When we loosely stack, we want to ensure we are within range of ground-based healing effects, such as Shaman Healing Rain or Priest Barrier. As shown here, when the call to stack is made, players get to the general area by the player marked box. Even if one player is slightly further away, as long as everyone is within a 5 to 8 yard stack, such that we can receive AoE healing, this is sufficient. Instances where loosely stacking is generally okay are going to be bosses like Magma and Chimeron. Another type of movement we'll have is where we'll need to move as a raid team together. When this happens, we need to essentially execute a pixel move. Think pixel stacking, but also moving. As you see here, this is very much the same movement that we have on Atramedes in Blackwing Descent. The team moves together to the left of the raid marker, being sure to stay stacked as much as possible. Then, shortly afterwards, moving back to the raid marker box, again as a unit. This type of movement isn't limited to quick bursts like this either. At times, like in Heroic Lich King, the raid will need to move as a tight unit, while also healing and DPSing as well. Be mindful of your positioning, and don't get greedy when we need to move like this. As you see here, a player is stopping to cast extra while the entire raid moves back to position. In a fight like Atramedes, this is a big mistake, as you can easily cause future issues for raiders with your late movement. Another thing to watch out for is remembering to completely stack when we return to position or arrive at a new one. In many cases, we'll need to stay as pixel stacked as possible. Welcome to the Obsidian Council Discord. This is going to be an essential part of being a Dawgz Raider and raiding an Obsidian Council in general. All of our guild's knowledge and experience is found here. In addition to that, any posts or announcements that are needed to be known by you as a raider are going to be posted here. Going over what you need to do in this Discord is very important, so we're going to demonstrate it directly. Within the guild Discord, at the very top, at the welcome section, are the community rules. These rules are non-negotiable and have been in effect since September of 2019. We will remove raiders from our raid team if they failed to meet these guild standards and rules. Please make sure that you review them. As you are a member of the raid team already, we can skip some of these general channels and other features because they are not necessary to raiding within the Dawgz raid team. Scrolling down to the point where you see the Dawgz raid team, you will then see the channels that you need to be required to be up to date in. Starting at the top, Dawgz Raid Info. Within the Dawgz Raid Info channel, we currently house our raid plans for the current raid tier and Cataclysm. They are all viewable here and easily clickable so that you can navigate to each raid plan. This message is also pinned at the top. Typically, these are updated every Thursday, 2 days ahead of raid time. You are typically tagged at Dawgz when new information is posted here. Next, let's take a look at Dawgz announcements. The Dawgz announcements channel contains announcements that we make to our raid team. These announcements can range from something as simple as saying congratulations on a recent great raid weekend, or announcing how we distribute our new enchantment policies. You need to be always up to date about what the latest post in Dawgz announcements is to make sure that you are up to date on what's happening within our raid team. Next, let's look at Dawgz scheduling. Dawgz scheduling, despite the fact that it can get a little memey, is here for you to post out if you are going to be missing the upcoming or future upcoming raids. Please always post with as much time as possible to give me the opportunity to adjust the raid. Additionally, if you provide more than 1 week's notice, always come back the week of to let us know that you'll be out the coming raid weekend. Next, Dawgz discussion. Dawgz discussion is where we handle most of our just general chat among the raid team. You don't necessarily have to be always fully caught up with what's happening within this channel. This is just our chat channel, and we do not typically leave any really important information here. But it is always good to check this channel just to stay up to date on what's happening within the raid team. Next, Dawgz logs. Here we post the logs for each raid during and after the raid that has happened recently. In addition to that, there are sometimes logs posted in here for comparative purposes or general chat about what's happening within a log. Next, let's take a look at what's happening in some of these prep channels. The ICC RBS prep channel is old, but we can take a look at our Cata prep channel. Here, we're posting information that is helpful for raiding within Cataclysm. As you can see, the most recent post is here for the range display add-on that was very helpful for us here in Blackwing Descent. The remaining 2 channels within the Dawgz tab are not necessary for 25-man raiding. To wrap up the Discord section of this video, the only thing that I would like to remind you that you need to make sure that you're always staying up to date about what's happening within the Dawgz channel in Discord. Even if you have our Discord muted, you need to be checking these channels daily so that you can be up to date about what's happening and the plans that's happening within our raid team. This is a requirement of Dawgz raid team.
It's a scarab lord.
I mean, it's like having a fucking Lambo, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I would.
Why wouldn't you?
I mean, like,
All right.
not like having a big dick, right? Like, you just